Yeah, I don't know if I want to put out this information, but I think it's too important to ignore. And I don't want this to be a fear-mongering video. It's more or less, I want it to be a heads-up video on something because, a lot of the people have been crying wolf in the sky is falling. It might be correct in a lot of ways. First off, I want to say that this information came from, it's no longer up there, but I just want to put it out to you that, it was up there. I got this from the Wayback Machine. And I saw this information also on the major media, and at first I says, this is bullshit. I didn't believe it, and I'm thinking to myself, and I heard people talking about it in, the conspiracy venues, and that's no longer information that's up there. But it was up there for many, many months in a row, and it was slightly modified one way or the other. But it's basically giving you from forecast on the population, gross domestic product, military expenditures, and the purchasing power parity of various countries' currencies, and population growth rates, GDP, military expenditure growth or reduction over the next 10 years from 2015 to 2025. Now, the bottom number on this, like for instance in China, hopefully this comes out clear enough. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger here. So, like in China, like in other words, the population is going to be right now in the black number here on the bottom is 1,350,000. They forecasted to be 1,350,000,000, and they forecasted to be 1,370,000,000 going population going up. They expect now the GDP is in thousands. Okay, so in other words, that's 8,920,000,000,000. They expected to go almost up to 15 trillion. Military expenditures are going to go from 178 billion to 246 billion. In the purchasing power of the currency, purchasing power parity is going to go from 9,800 to 15,000. It's basically the currency is going to get much stronger. Now, basically they're showing India, looking on as a rosy picture. Brazil, rosy picture. Population, GDP, military expenditures up. Russia actually looks good except for the population going down, but the GDP is going to go up significantly, almost 50%. Military expenditures are going to go up. Purchasing power to their money is going to go up. Germany down. Japan down. Mexico, GDP up. Military expenditures down. But here is the caveat. Look at the United States. Now I'm going to blow this up so you can see it a little bit better. How's that? United States. The bottom number, 316,440,000 is actually our population as of 2015. They expect, on this forecast, a military site, not a conspiracy site, but then, I started thinking about other things on this now besides, what the hell they're talking about. It wouldn't be World War because you would see the forecast for China and Russia go down too, right? But basically, the population is going to go down to 69,086,000, okay? Below 70 million. They've even had this at 64 and 65 million in 10 years. And I'm assuming it's going to be an exodus of population for catastrophic economic events. I don't know if this is going to be true or not, but this was interesting because it wasn't on one of these conspiracy yo-yo sites. And it was up there for like a long period of time, many months. The military expenditures, now I said this is a responsible military site. I don't know why they had these numbers out here, but I'm going to give you reasons why I think this is going to happen, possibly. Maybe not this bad, but then again, I'm going to really give it to you straight without freaking playing games, and I'm not going to freaking try to scare you because you know what this means? We got a situation. Dig in, baby, dig in, okay? We might have a situation. We might. So, and also the GDP was 16,720,000,000,000. GDP down to a fraction what it is today by forecast by 2025, less than a trillion, 920 billion. Also, the military expenditures 726 billion. I believe that's what that should be. 726 million, down to a fraction of what it would be. It would be 8 million. 8 million. Purchasing power for currency down to possibly maybe 17-18% of what it is today, and not much more than half of what the forecast would be for China in the future. So, now, I also want to state this. I think it has a lot to do with something that's been talked about for like years, more than 10 years, the U.S. debt. U.S. debt. Now, you see the U.S. national debt. I remember like You know, when they screamed at it, went over 10 trillion, it went over 15 trillion, it went over 17 trillion, now it's over 18 trillion, blah, 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 you know. Where the hell is it going to end up? I don't know. But, you know, we're the biggest debtor nation in the whole world. And, you know, it's been called to attention, but it's almost like people heard it so many times they don't want to hear it anymore. And nothing's really being done about it. And you look at, I don't know, tax revenue is a joke, paltry joke between that and also, you know, total U.S. debt. Now, the other thing is, we also got the derivatives bubble, where the banks are basically on a hook for more. They're leveraged. You know, the big financial institutions, they're leveraged far more and on a hook for derivatives that is bigger than the whole GDP of the entire world put together by many times over. In other words, in a flash, I mean, it's not even, I don't want to freaking play. You see, I want to play this. In other words, you got the numbers crap, but you got to remember, get right down to hardcore basics, and you'll be okay. You know? Actually, even his GDP number, like we have here with the U.S. gross domestic product, now you can see that number that was quoted on this was GDP of, I guess this was 2014, possibly, but it say it was 16 trillion 720 billion. You know, actually the current number as we speak is 17 trillion 776 billion. Now, you got to remember though, like say for instance, like if you had like in China, Japan, many Asian countries, you know, there's a lot of home gardens out there. There's a lot of home herbal gardens. You know, a lot of this big, one of the biggest areas of gross domestic product is our national healthcare industry in pharmaceutical. But you know, if everybody had a home garden and herbal garden, they'd probably be a lot more healthy. They probably wouldn't be taking all these medicines. The GDP be down, but everybody be better off. You know, so I mean, it's almost like the numbers don't reflect reality all the way. And that's what the other thing I want to say is if you see these numbers come way down, we have a major catastrophic collapse in say the markets, and because like right now in the Dow and in the S&P, it's margin to the hill. Everything's pretty much bought on margin. But a lot of people think, you know, this can't happen. Like in other words, this can't go down that much. But I don't think it could either. I don't think so either. But it was from a respected site, US of A. That's what they expected. In other words, I would expect, you know, something like this. I'm thinking it's like a catastrophic economic collapse due to the debt bubble, the derivatives bubble, the bubble actually in the markets, because the markets have been shored up by government, basically the government going in and buying up the equities. That's what's going on right now. In other words, the actual markets, like in other words, are you know, the equities, the Dow and the S&P and everything, they usually follow within a few percent of the GDP and the inflation rate. It's been that way historically for like way more than 100 years. But there's been a vast divergence from that, and actually they're more than doubled when everything else has been pretty much staying rock steady the same. Not too much growth, not too much, hardly any inflation. And a lot of that's really where that's where the bubble is right now. The bubble is actually in the equities. We had the bubble before in the metals. You know, I know a lot of people get mad at me for saying that, but that was a bubble. Nobody would have believed that, you know, silver could have went from 47 and stayed down to like 15, 16 bucks years later, back when it was over 40. Nobody would have believed that. But then again, maybe nobody can believe that the United States can't go down that much economically because we're such a debtor nation and that all our major financial institutions are tied to derivatives. So I just want to put it out here that, you know, I don't want this to be a fear-mongering video, but a heads-up video, that, you know, the fear-mongers might be right one of these days. And the problem is, fear don't get you nothing, okay? Fear just makes you think like an idiot. It freezes your brain up. It does not help you do anything constructive. It's just that you got to have a little fear so you realize the situation could be grave. You know, that's the reality. You want to have a little bit of fear. Now, I'll tell you right now, the next video I put out is not going to be nothing like this anyway. It's going to be probably something on doing something on the car, something more practical. But I have to tell you that right now that the situation where we got all this trade balance, all our industries are moving overseas. You know, a lot of the industries, even we see that are in this gross domestic product number, are fluff, like the pharmaceutical industry, which a lot of can be replaced by just organic gardens and growing organic herbs. You know, there's a lot of freaking fluff retail services in here that are basically pampering people that, you know, it's garbage. I mean, it's just fluff. I mean, that's really what it is. You know, if I see a GDP that's actually producing hard goods that people can use for a lifetime, then I feel stronger it does numbers. But versus if it's fluff producing video games, producing entertainment things, it's not really they're necessary up to a point. But you know, if most of your GDP is in those areas, it's not really good. It's not really good. So sometimes the numbers lie. But I'm a person, I think the United States will survive anyway, and come hell or high water. And it's going to be like the people of excess garbage on the top. Some of the most wealthy could get upside down. And, you know, that's happened before, even in the business world, where people are very wealthy. They got upside down on debt. They look like they're high on a hog. I mean, even heard that guy, what the hell was that guy from Brazil? I thought he was going to be the wealthiest guy in the world. Now he's a big-time debtor, you know, because he's betting heavy on the oil industry. He was in the oil industry. I forgot the guy's name, but, you know, that's the whole thing. That could happen even with, you know, the USA itself. So I don't want to put this out as a doom and gloom video because I don't like those doom and gloomers. I hate them. And but basically, considering that was a very respected site and that information was up there as like a military forecast, I'm not taking it that lightly. And I'm assuming this is not due to a global conflict, because if the United States population was reduced this much, who the hell would we have a global conflict with? You know, it'd be Russia or China, and, you know, their population's way the hell up. Don't tell me their population would be way the hell up if they had a war with the United States. I don't know. But then again, you know, this could all be garbage too, because you know why? This could also give impetus to people that are on the top to say, we got the stuff now. We got all the military goods right now. We're the strongest number one people on, you know, nation on earth. And if we let things go, you know, this is what this might be saying too. If we let things go the way they're going, the debt going up, more industry going over to China and India, I don't know where it's going to, you know, maybe it's not India, but it's whatever it's going to, overseas, right? And more trade imbalance of goods, the situation is going to wind up like this. Maybe that's why they're forecasting this. And I have to say that, you know, maybe what this might mean is that this forecast is telling people in the United States, let's go to war now. While we got all this shit in our hands to do the job, and, you know, and they'll steal whatever they got to do to get the job done. I don't know. What the hell else is new, right? That's exactly the way people on the top think. So who the hell knows, man? It's just a chart. It's not reality right now, but it does give you pause to think about why the hell they put this. I can see why they put the information up, because the derivatives and the debt, also the U.S., they ain't gonna go like that forever. There's gonna be that's a major time bomb. So maybe that's the forecast if that major time bomb is allowed to go. But the whole situation changes in war. Maybe that's what they're leading to. I don't know. But considering it was a responsible site, it was not one of those conspiracy yo-yos out there with the blogs and, you know, this guy is fooling, listen to my freaking blog, click on my link, give me my PayPal. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It got me thinking about this, because now, you know, I realized, you know, nobody thought the tech boom can go that boom, right? The tech boom went so down to nothing. Nobody thought the real estate market could crash that bad. Nobody thought the equities back in 2008 could crash that bad, or oil could crash that bad from 147. Nobody thought freaking back in 2008 to down to 35 in the same year. Nobody thought that. They were saying 200, right? Nobody thought that silver can go from like 47 to 15, years later, right? I don't know. It could be. It could be. But then again, it might not be that way forever. But man, we got some shit coming up. I can tell you that right now. So be prepared. And my next video ain't going to be on this doom and gloom stuff. It's going to be on practical how-to stuff.